Hey guys, John Bush here with Brave Botanicals, mybravebotanicals.com, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how Kratom can help people that are struggling with addiction. I've been selling Kratom for 2 to 3 years now, and it's some of the most rewarding work that I've ever done, in large part because of the profound impact that it has on people's lives in a wide variety of areas. But perhaps one of the biggest impacts and biggest changes that it has, and in turn the biggest satisfaction that I feel in helping people learn about Kratom, is how it helps people that are struggling with addiction, and a wide variety of addictions at that. So what is Kratom? Kratom is made from the powderized leaves of the Kratom evergreen tree. It's grown primarily in Southeast Asia. Here. One sec. This is what Kratom looks like. It's a powder made from the powderized leaf of the Kratom tree, and you can take it in capsule form. Some people just take it straight as a powder. A lot of people take it for chronic pain. A lot of people take it to help overcome with addiction. There's other varieties that people take for stress and anxiety, mental focus and energy. Mainly the red varieties, the darker leaves and the darker veins, help with pain. A lot of people use those to help overcome addiction. And then the green and white ones tend to be a little more uplifting and energetic, and they also help people. I just want to let people know, if they've never tried Kratom, we are offering a free ounce of Kratom for people that have never tried it. You can go to freeounceofkratom.com. That's freeounceofkratom.com. And as long as you pay for shipping and handling, we will send you an ounce of Kratom for free. Okay, so there's a wide variety of addictions, as I said, that people use Kratom to help with, from alcoholism to dependency on opioids, dependency on opiates like heroin, and even people take Kratom instead of taking Adderall. So a lot of pharmaceuticals, this is why Big Pharma and the FDA and the CDC and the federal government are trying to push back on Kratom, because many people know that there's a revolving door that happens with politics, where executives become regulators and regulators become executives, and unfortunately for them, Kratom is actually putting up quite a bit of competition. In fact, it was estimated that the annual revenue generated by Kratom is around $5 billion. The annual revenue generated by opioid painkillers is around $25 billion. So that's actually a significant chunk, and you find that many of these regulators would be happy to invest in lobbyists, would be happy to donate to campaigns, because they aim to save a lot of money and not lose a lot of profit. These big pharma folks don't like competition. But I digress. So I believe that one of the biggest uses when it comes to overcoming addiction that people use Kratom for is to overcome an opioid or opiate addiction. There's a lot of people in this country right now, a lot of people are familiar with this opioid epidemic. Well, a lot of people are addicted to prescription painkillers, Oxycontin, Percocet, Vicodin, the list goes on and on. And there's a lot of people too that they get in a car accident, or they have some medical issue that takes place, they're in chronic pain, so they start to take prescription opioids, they become addicted to the prescription opioids, then they are attempting to relieve their pain. They start to develop a tolerance because they take the opioids for so long, and some of those people move on to heroin in order to get an effect, in order to relieve the pain, in order to meet that addiction. Now, Kratom helps in these instances because Kratom also interacts with the opioid receptors. The FDA went so far as to call Kratom an opioid. In my opinion, it was an attempt to marginalize Kratom, to lump it in with this opioid crisis. And it's quite ironic that the federal government and the FDA would be attacking Kratom and saying that it's actually adding to this opioid crisis, when in reality there are so many people that are turning to Kratom to overcome their dependency on opioids. And as we see with the felonies and indictments that are taking place with these doctors and pharmaceutical executives, that's a problem. They don't want people to overcome their opioid dependency. They're pushing it out like crazy because they're making money and getting perks and benefits from the pharmaceutical companies. So Kratom stimulates the opioid receptors. You could call it an opioid. Some people define an opioid as some sort of substance that interacts with the opioid receptors. So if that's how you want to define opioids, then you could call Kratom an opioid. I prefer not to call it an opioid. I just prefer to call it a natural plant, a natural medicine. The beauty about Kratom, when compared to opioids, your traditional pharmaceutical opioids, and this is why Kratom is so groundbreaking and has so much of an opportunity to revolutionize chronic pain and to help people, is because Kratom doesn't cause respiratory depression. And that's one of the leading causes for people that are addicted to opioids and opiates. That's actually how they pass away from overdosing. They take too much and their lungs literally stop working, they can't breathe, and they pass. And that's one of the reasons why we have this big opioid addiction and opioid epidemic and people are dying. It's a big problem. Kratom doesn't do that. But people take Kratom when they're coming off of their opioid addiction because it helps to minimize the withdrawal symptoms, as they say, as they report. There have been people that are customers of mine, that are friends of mine, that I interact with, that have had really bad opioid or opiate addictions. They try to quit, but the withdrawals are just too severe. One of my favorite customers and one of the most profound stories that really caused me to see the big impact that Kratom has and lean into the Kratom sales was from a woman from California. She was ordering Kratom from us online a couple years ago, and it had such a big impact on her. She called me up when I was running Brave New Books, and she said, "I just want to thank you for selling me this Kratom. It has really changed my life. It was an older woman. I take care of 4 grandchildren for my daughter, and I haven't been able to keep up with them when they're running around in my house. I'm taking Oxycontin, and it's gotten so, it might have been Percocet or Oxycontin, it's gotten so bad that I find myself sitting on my bed, sweating, and rocking back and forth, just basically all jacked up on the opioids." She said she tried to quit multiple times in the past. She wasn't able to, and when she tried Kratom, she was literally able to kick the habit in about 2 or 3 days, and she said with little to no withdrawal symptoms whatsoever. I want to note, I should have said this at the beginning of the video, Kratom can be habit forming for people that don't use it responsibly. And a lot of people are upset about that and they will try to fault Kratom for that. But the way that I see it, if someone has addictive tendencies or they're in chronic pain to the point where they've become dependent on opioids, then it is much less harmful for them to become dependent or to form a habit or even to become addicted to Kratom. And again, that's because Kratom, as far as we know, Kratom alone can't cause death. Now, I'm not going to say that that's totally the fact all the way across the board. The CDC wants you to believe that there were 91 Kratom-related deaths. The FDA says that there's like 46 people that have died from Kratom, but when you dig into those numbers, you find that a large majority of those people, they died having Kratom in their system, but they also had fentanyl, heroin, or other opioids, or cocaine in their system. Or one of the people that died from Kratom alone in the FDA report, it turned out they were shot, or they fell off a roof in another instance. So even though people that have the addictive tendencies or that are in chronic pain and they simply give up an addiction to opioids or opiates and they now become addicted to Kratom, in my opinion, again, that's an example of harm reduction, dramatically decreasing the risk that this person could lose their life, which is ultimately something that everyone wants to avoid. So another thing, there's people that become addicted to opioids or opiates because they get in a car accident or because they have chronic pain and they just escalate up the ladder and they take so much and they develop a tolerance. There's other people that become addicted to opioids or even opiates like heroin because they've experienced some sort of trauma in their life and they are attempting to numb the pain or avoid the pain. There's this awesome doctor named, I think it's Gabor Mate, something like that, and he does amazing work in the area of addiction, and it's his theory that he puts forward, his hypothesis that addiction stems from childhood trauma and not addressing those childhood traumas. So for people that are addicted for that reason, Kratom can help because it helps to overcome the stress and anxiety. It doesn't put you in a state like heroin must put people where it's just totally numbed out, totally dangerous, extremely harmful, this nasty chemical. But it does help to take the edge off, and it's a more gentle taking the edge off. In fact, I personally take it to help with stress and anxiety sometimes. I mainly take it for energy and focus as an entrepreneur, but there's times when I feel stressed or anxious or there's big crazy stuff going on in my life, and it really helps to take the edge off. So I can imagine for someone that has had trauma in their lives and that has struggled to the point where they become dependent on heroin or become dependent on opioids in order to ease that pain, it also has a similar effect of relieving the tension of creating peace in one's life. Now, again, at Brave Botanicals, we like to take more of a holistic approach. I believe that Kratom for people that are struggling with addiction, especially addiction when it comes to trauma, is simply a surface level solution. That's why we created Brave New You Self-Improvement Group and the Brave New You Recovery Group. I'll post those in the comments or in this as soon as this video is done. Really, at the end of the day, if you're addicted to something because it helps to numb the pain and helps to avoid thinking about some sort of trauma that took place in your life, you got to strike the root, face that trauma, heal that trauma. You can't simply avoid the trauma your entire life, or you'll simply continue to recreate these cycles. And I know that's difficult, and I'm not a psychotherapist or a psychologist or anything, or psychiatrist, but there's a lot of people that are being open and vulnerable in these groups and sharing with one another, and I do believe that that is the true cause. So that's opioids and opiates. There's someone very close to me that has used Kratom to overcome a dependency on Adderall. She had trouble focusing, was diagnosed with ADHD, and was taking Adderall for quite some time, and it would get her heart rate elevated. It kind of dampened her personality. Normally a bright, beautiful being, it would dampen her personality, and it would just put her off kilt, and she would stay up late, wake up early, and take it again so she could start her day. Well, it was Kratom that enabled her to kick that multi-year dependency, and hearing that story was so meaningful and impactful for me. The white lightning that we carry, some of the green strains, they really help people with mental focus. And I would notice when we were together and when she would take the Adderalls, when she would start to feel overwhelmed sometimes with all of the tasks and the inbox and the project deadlines. Kratom can have the effect, if you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed or anxious about all the stuff on your plate, it helps, again, as I said, to take the edge off, to ease the tension. Another great way that people overcome dependency is the dependency on alcohol, especially when in a social setting. A lot of people, they have a habit, they're queued up to drink when they're in a social setting like a party or a bar or at some sort of event. Well, one thing, I don't really drink, I drink rarely now, and one thing that I do when I'm in a social setting and other people are drinking and I don't want to drink, the reason I don't drink as often, I didn't drink a whole lot before, but I would drink it more socially, is because I'm so driven now with my entrepreneurship and building a better life for myself and my children. I don't want to be hungover the next day or even feel a little edgy the next day. I want to be in the best state possible, so I laid back on the drinking, but there's times when I'm out and about and there's a party or there's a social setting, and instead of turning to a beer, you can simply have a drink of Kratom, and it helps to take the edge off. And a lot of Kratom vendors like to say that Kratom enhances sociability. So that's really exciting too. Even people that smoke cigarettes, oftentimes they have this cue, they're like maybe feeling anxious or they're at work and now it's time to take a break, everyone else is going, and they pull out a cigarette. Well, you can replace something like that by simply having a Kratom drink. Another thing that somebody advised, like colloidals or some essential oils like peppermint. Dip peppermint. Okay. All right. We're back. We're still here. Okay, the video's funny. My phone is watching. Is it going weird? Okay. You take a toothpick, you dip it in essential oil, and whenever you have the cue to smoke a cigarette, instead of smoking the cigarette, you simply chew on the toothpick. So Kratom has helped a large number of people overcome a wide variety of addiction, and that is why I feel so fulfilled and blessed to be helping serve people in these circumstances. Again, our website is mybravebotanicals.com. You can see there behind us. It's a good-looking superhero right there. Man, Kratom man's really got it going on. Also, if you're struggling with addiction or if you just want to try Kratom, you've heard about it but haven't given it a try, you can go to freeounceofkratom.com. Again, that's freeounceofkratom.com, and simply pay shipping and handling, which is only $5, and we'll send you a free ounce of green mangda to try out. Again, this is John Bush. For those of you that are just joining us, I invite you to watch the video as soon as we end this live session. Peace and freedom. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.